This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Tuesday, January 13th of 2026, and we are so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I visit with Iowa Congressman Randy Feenstra. Had the chance to chat with him on the phone today to talk about a lot of ag policy legislation that could be coming out here in the future that he's been working on in his office. We'll also have a check of the closing markets, but first, here's that conversation with Iowa Congressman Randy Feenstra. Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, on the phone right now with Iowa Congressman Randy Feenstra, getting an update on the latest going on in his office. Congressman Feenstra, it's always a pleasure to have you on the phone. First off, Farm Bill is always a huge topic here in agriculture, and we are still trying to get that through to get maybe some more permanent legislation put in place. Tell us a little bit about the latest updates to that Farm Bill process.
Yeah, Riley, I tell you what, it's great to be on the Iowa Agribusiness Network. This is a big deal. We did about 85% of it in the working family tax cut bill, but we still got a lot of conservation and research dollars that have to get done in that Farm Bill. And so we had a meeting. I sit on the Agricultural Committee. We had a meeting last week with our entire committee talking about how we move it forward. And we have scheduled time. I think it is in mid-February where it will get through our committee, and then it's just a matter of getting it to the floor. And the whole goal here is that everybody agrees, whether it be Democrats, whether it be the U.S. Senate, that we can get this bill out the door and get it signed into law. So we are truly focused on, as the Ag Committee, to get this done. We got to get it done. It's that important.
And I know one of those pieces of legislation, or really just a goal that's been in mind for a while, is the keeping China away from the U.S. farmland. And we do know recently that the Trump administration has been implementing one of your bills to allow that to happen, to keep the U.S. farmland here, owned by U.S. farmers. Tell us a little bit about that and just how that's been implemented so far.
Yeah, this is again very, very important. I'm so excited working with President Trump on this to advance National Farm Security Action Plan. It's called Feenstra's Farmland Act. And what this simply does, it keeps foreign adversaries away from our farmland, away from buying it. This has been a hot topic over the last several years. We finally got to get it into law. We've done some pieces. We sort of nibbled at the edges. But this sort of develops a strategy and oversight measures to make sure it gets done. And we want to make sure that next generation Iowa farmer gets that land and not outside interests, not our foreign adversaries. I mean, this makes sure that it gets down to that next generation.
And then another piece of legislation, or what would hopefully be a piece of legislation in the Farm Bill, would be something to strengthen crop insurance. We have seen actions recently from the Trump administration to strengthen crop insurance. However, obviously a great thing to see, and Congressman Feenstra, I know you've seen across the state in your district as well. There's a lot of volatility going on right now, so there's a lot of stability that's needed as well.
Exactly, especially in inputs. I mean, we met last week with the seed companies, fertilizer companies, and pesticide companies of trying to figure out how we lower costs. And one of the big costs also is obviously crop insurance, and especially for that beginning farmer. So I created a bill that will be in the Farm Bill that lowers the cost for that new beginning farmer. This is so important. I mean, it's expanding access to risk management, and this will get signed into law, hopefully, when the Farm Bill gets passed. But again, we've got to try to figure out better ways to lower input costs, and these are all pieces and components of that to make sure that our farmers are profitable.
You've mentioned several times already today of the keeping farms in the family and being passed down through the generations. We know that the death tax is one of the biggest reasons why those farms aren't able to stay in those families. We know there's farm investments in the working families tax cuts. What all are those investments in there, and how are they then going to help out the farming families in Iowa and across the country?
Yeah, I want to just tell you, in in the Farm Bill, I mean, this was huge. I mean, this was sort of a massive investment, over $50 billion of economic farm investment, and it included the $15 million exemption on the death tax. This was really big to pass that land to the next generation, that you can, up to $15 million of costs will be exempt from taxes. And we want to continue to work with President Trump on this. He is all about it. Again, to keep that land away from our adversaries, keeping it away from outside interests. We see a lot of outside organizations that want to buy farmland, and they don't understand what it means to terrace it. They don't understand cover crops and all this other stuff. That's why we got to keep it with the Iowa farmer and create more affordability to get that done.
And then I know another bill that you have introduced as well, busy time in the office, is to protect farmers from tractor rollovers by allowing some retrofitting of older tractors with rollover protection structures. That's a very important thing, and it's a simple thing. And like you mentioned, or I've heard you mention recently, it is one of the easiest things that can be done from Washington just to make sure that these farmers are safe as it can be.
Yeah, this is a common sense approach, and honestly, it sort of hit me personally. I had somebody that I knew that was killed in a rollover accident, and I said, this shouldn't be happening anymore. I mean, growing up, it just seemed like, a couple times a year, we'd always have somebody that we knew that got killed in a rollover with their tractor. So what this does is it creates a rebate for retrofitting tractors to protect rollover, to create roll bars, to make sure there's protection around that farmer if his tractor rolls. And again, this is the number one cause of death on farmers is rollover. So let's do something about it, and that's what I'm doing here, is creating a means to get that done.
And of course, another topic that would be huge for the Farm Bill would be the export markets for Iowa agriculture, and then, across the country as well. Is there any legislation that we know of that would be able to assist in that we could get on the Farm Bill to just open up new opportunities?
Well, I'll just talk briefly about that. Obviously, what we heard yesterday from Secretary Rollins, she was at the American Farm Bureau meeting in California, and she first of all said we got to pass E15 year-round. I mean, you think about what happened yesterday. We had a record-setting production report by USDA: 17 billion bushels of corn, 4 billion bushels of soybeans. I mean, this is record-setting. So we got to have a place for it. And you start out by making sure that we get E15 year-round. That's so important. We're trying to find an avenue of where that goes. We also have to make sure that we have set 2 rules for RFS, meaning set our renewable volume obligations and determine the number of small refinery exemptions. I mean, both of these things create strong domestic demand for our commodities. Now, on the export side, I also sit on Ways and Means, so we handle all trade. We have to make sure that we have a strong USMCA renewal. That's about a third of our exports that go to USMCA. But we're also looking at India. We also have several meetings this week trying to tie other countries from Africa to other Asian countries to buy more of our products, specifically corn, soybeans, cattle, and hogs. This is extremely important. We've got to continue to grow our commodities, our export markets, and that's what I'm truly focused on when I sit in Ways and Means.
And one last question here, Congressman Feenstra. It was great to see recently Starlin Purdue appointed as Iowa's Farm Service Agency Director. Any comments there on just seeing a great thing like that happen?
I just want to congratulate my friend and a strong advocate for Iowa farmers. I mean, Starlin Purdue, she's appointed, obviously, State Executive Director for Farm Service Agencies in Iowa, and what she does is she gives Iowa a strong voice in the USDA, and it will ensure producers that will receive the best and most responsive service. I mean, this is so important. We need somebody that understands ag and is very active to make sure that we become more effective and efficient in these services, and Starlin Purdue is all about that. So I'm really excited.
All right, Congressman Feenstra, thank you so much for your time today. For anyone who wants to stay in touch with what you're doing in your office and also just to make their voice heard with you, how can they do that?
Yes, they can always go to feenstra.house.gov. And Riley, it's always great to be on Iowa Agribusiness Network. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thanks again to Iowa Congressman Randy Feenstra for joining us on today's show. And we will go ahead now and take a look at the closing markets. And today I'm joined by Ethan Robson of agmarket.net. Ethan, yesterday was quite a chaotic day for the ag marketplace. Looking back to today, how did the grain markets fare?
Yeah, still slid a little bit lower after yesterday's USDA just absolute gut punch to all the bulls out there. Saw yesterday USDA raised corn yield 186.5 above trade estimates. Biggest story there though was the harvested acres switch that we were talking about earlier. Raised harvested acres up another million acres. Trade was not expecting that. That caught all the bulls off surprise, and then coming into the day, have March corn down a penny and a quarter at 420 and a quarter. New crop corn down 6 1/4 at 445 for a new crop going to the elevator this fall. Soybean side, March soybeans down 10 at 1039 even today. Saw some value buying today. Came in 8 a.m. flash sales. Saw 168,000 tons of soybeans to China today, and then 152,000 of soybeans to Mexico.
And over the past couple days, seeing in some cases 2 days in a row of double-digit losses. At this point, we're just looking to hopefully get back to normal price levels, especially since we're supposed to be pretty volatile right now with the South American weather, right?
Exactly, yeah, and that's the biggest thing. South America weather continues to remain favorable, so there just isn't that story there. We saw yesterday USDA raised Brazil production up to 178, I believe. That's still below most of these private estimates. Some of these private estimates are north of 180 million metric tons too. So some could argue USDA has some wiggle room there to the upside. Crop conditions on Argentina continue to remain favorable there. A little bit talks of dryness, but overall those ratings continue to remain pretty favorable. Just haven't given the bulls any sort of story they need, and that's something we desperately need if we want these markets to have some green and continue some upside to get back to where we were post WASDE report, is some South America weather or some sort of domestic demand that we don't know about.
We know the focus has been on the grain markets here this week so far, but on the livestock side of things, what are we seeing in the cattle and hogs?
Yeah, different story in the cattle protein sector today. Had live cattle, that February contract up about $2 across the board here. Feeder cow up $4 to $6 as well. So impressive day in the livestock sector. Pulling up the charts here, live cattle just continuing to trade up against that 10-day moving average. Impressive to see that. Haven't been below that 10-day moving average at all in the month of January. Need to keep that continuing. That was good to see on the technical side there. Fed cattle March contract up $5, close to $6 there. That was impressive. Making new highs there that we haven't seen since October 24th. And then just going big picture economy wise today too. Saw gold and silver just continue their impressive run, making new contract highs as well. Off a little bit below that, and equities continue to make contract highs, both S&P and Dow. Right now, CPI came out earlier this morning, 2.6%. A little bit above the Federal Reserve's average of 2%, but still in line with expectations. CME Fed Watch showing about a 2.8% chance of a rate cut for that January meeting. So most expect them to punt on any interest rates cuts there.
All right, Ethan, lots of great information today. For anyone who wants to get in touch with the team at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
Yeah, give us a call here in Bloomington Normal. We'll be happy to help. 1-800-665-1591 or visit us online at agmarket.net.
All right, thanks again. As always, Ethan, we'll talk again soon.
Yep, thank you.
That again was Ethan Robson of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how the numbers close through the market window at iowaagnet.com. At the close, March corn up 7 even at 444 and a half. March soybeans up 16 and a quarter at 1062 even. March soybean meal up 3.90 at 299.90. Soybean oil up 57 cents at 49.87. Chicago wheat up 6 even at 512 and a half. Kansas City hard red wheat up 5 3/4 at 520 3/4. March oats up 6 1/2 at 304 1/2. On the Merc, February live cattle down 12 at 235.87. January feeders up 287 at 358.97. February lean hogs up 205 at 86.15. February pork cutout went unchanged at 93.75, and January class 3 milk down 3 cents at 15.04. That's been a check of the markets on Ag Matters PM, and that also brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our daily ag news content on our website at iowaagnet.com. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.